Oh, name a day. At this particular point in time, I tell people I can't chase down every particular issue. I'm not a perfect person. And so everyone has a chapter in their life, a book, a chapter, a page, a couple pages that they wish were never written. And what we have to do is when we make mistakes, we own it. We don't run from it. And so I've made mistakes. I live by the principle, I don't believe I can cast the first, second, or third stone. I may be eligible for the fourth, fifth, and somewhere else down the line, but I don't qualify for the first stone to be cast. And we have to approach government because Shreveport, the city of Shreveport, and our employees are just a microcosm of society. And so things are going to happen. We have to hold people accountable. I do believe that the ethics rules that we have in place at the state level, they hold public citizens accountable. We have to disclose what our financial disclosures are. We have to disclose who is contributing to our campaigns. And that's what holds us accountable. I would like to see us move to a more open system where we don't necessarily have to do a public records request. Baton Rouge is experimenting with it. It's called Open BR, where you can just go in and find out what's going on absent. Other than economic development projects, I think the state should exempt our public records from being, because we're competing. It's a very competitive environment. But ethics has to be at the forefront of what we do. Integrity has to be at the forefront of what we do. I'm even open to hiring a sort of inspector general that will come in and could even bring charges when they find corruptions. I led the effort on the parish commission to end our CPRs, to stop the automatic pay raises we were getting, and we've reduced travel by nearly 60% at the parish level. And those were things that we did within the first 2 months of me being a parish commissioner. I'd like to see the city employees incorporate sexual harassment training so that we know, because there are unconscious biasness and unconscious offenses that we have on a daily basis and we don't even think about them sometimes. So I'd love to see us ramp up our efforts with that, with our HR department, and talk about these things, because we have to send a message that we're more tolerant and inclusive society here in Shreveport. Everyone is welcome.
I shared this story at the Southwood Forum, actually, but we were doing a training exercise prior to deployment, and there was it's called a negligent discharge. It's a huge offense in the military, but it's when somebody fires their weapon accidentally. So we had a negligent discharge, and that gets reported all the way up to, I was a platoon leader at the time. It gets reported like to my boss's boss's boss. So it was a huge deal, and it happened while we were out. So it would have been extremely easy for me to not report it, because it could look very poorly on my platoon that we had this serious incident within my platoon. It could, hurt morale, etc. And it happened while we were out doing a patrol. I asked who did it. We found out how it happened, and I immediately went back after we returned from patrol and I reported it. And I made the point is that I always heard at West Point that bad news does not get better over time. So I immediately reported it and let them know, yeah, we had a negligent discharge in our platoon, and this was the facts attached to it. And this is why, although it could have temporarily saved me, some strife with my platoon, or it would have temporarily made me look good, what it would have done is break down the good order and discipline of my platoon as well. So if somebody says, okay, the platoon leader tolerated this significant slip up, then he probably would tolerate other things. And I couldn't have that happen in my platoon. So again, I made sure that I did what we also call the harder right over the easier wrong, and you're gonna have to do that throughout government. You gotta keep people accountable. People have to know that leaders take rules very seriously, ethics extremely seriously, and that's actually the way you can optimize the effectiveness of government rather than having it, operate less efficiently because people think they can cut corners here and there.
Yes, I think I can. When I was first hired at the parish of Caddo, I was asked during the interview, if the administrator asked you to do something that you disagreed with, what would you do? My response was, if the administrator has information that I don't necessarily have, if the administrator is not asking me to do anything that is illegal or unethical I will do it. Because as I said, they have information that I don't necessarily have, and it's not my position to question everything. Okay? I think that taking that attitude has proven to be very beneficial, because you just can't question everything. You have to trust in the leadership. When there's a problem, if you don't trust the leadership, you need to move on.
My integrity and ethics was tested yesterday. And I'm going to be as specific as I can, but a little bit vague. I had a couple of businessmen that invited me over to their home. I asked them to come up to the campaign office, or could we meet? Well, we'd like you to come over here. And I'm like, okay. I meet people in their home all the time, because if that's what they want, they feel comfortable, and they ask me anything, that's what I want to do. Again, I've never been a politician, so I don't know how this works, so I'm just trying to do the right thing. So I go over there, and they're talking about being able to get a lot of Democrat votes for me. And I'm like, well, that's fantastic. We just want to learn a little bit more about you. Tell us about you. And I'm like, okay. And we did this. Well, that was the week before, and then this week, they wanted to meet with me. And I'm like, okay, sure will. So went back over and said, we're going to give you the plan of what we think we can do to help you. And I said, okay. And the plan was that they wanted money. And I'm like, I want to back up with you guys, and I want to tell you what I told you in the beginning, that I'm not a rich man. I'm not Trump. I'm not, I don't have any association with that. What I am saying is I can't be bought. I'm not going to pay for anything. If it's a political favor, it's not going to happen. If my campaign funds suffer, they're just going to suffer. But the facts are is I can only be who I am, and that's all I'll ever be. But that's the last time it happened, shamefully. Yeah.
Well, I don't have a specific, and the reason I don't have a specific is because I believe that I think, well, let me just answer from my point of view. My integrity is, I don't believe my integrity has ever been questioned, and if it is, it's because people don't know me. They know that I'm an upstanding guy. I don't use the word transparency because I just like the word being honest. I think that the public is very forgiving if you make a mistake. And I think that if you own that mistake, then, it's pressing on. It's not dwelling in the past. I think we dwell in the past too much instead of looking towards the future. As far as the honesty and integrity, I've been a public servant all my life. With the exception of 3 years. My dad, was a military an individual. I come from a long list of military-minded folks. From serving in the military and serving in two different police departments. Integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do is the military core values. And I try to live my life, every day by those core values. And if that wasn't enough, I have a 16-year-old. Who is my moral compass. And she's one of the reasons I did get into this race. Because she said, Dad, why is everybody down on Shreveport? I said, I don't know. But it can be different because I want her to stay here. So, back to integrity first, that's how I live my life. That's how I'll run the office of the mayors, and that's how I'll expect everybody else to take on that same philosophy. And if they can't, it's okay, but there's no room for that because that's what the citizens deserve. That's what they should expect. Nothing more, nothing less. Just to be honest, straightforward. Tell us the good news, tell us the bad news, and then show us by your actions that you're willing to take the helm. Set the course. Chart the course, set the sail, and do with integrity. And then if you do that, you don't have to worry about telling someone one story and telling somebody another story. You just tell the truth, and the truth, is what it is. So, again, I don't have one specific. My life is a specific in that, yes, have I made mistakes? Absolutely. Am I going to make some more? You bet. But will setting Shreveport on the right path be worth it? Yes, it will.
Well, yes, I can share you part of it because some of it is still in litigation. And of course, my ethics have been tested since I've been a leader in government. I'll tell you that. If I could start back, even when I was superintendent of school system, I had a gentleman call, and he was someone who writes all the time in our community, and said, you need to hire my significant other back. Well, his significant other had been fired by the previous superintendent. And I said, well, let me take a look into the situation. And I did, and discovered that, she was fired unanimously by the board. And I told him, I said, well, I can't hire her back. You'll have to go back through that same process to get her hired back. I don't know what all happened. I did look at the file. And of course, he yelled at me, and he, used some profane language. And I told him, when he could control himself, he could call me back. Well, instead of doing that, he called the board. And, well, long story short, then he decided that he was going to get a lawyer to harass by asking for public records requests every week. And so we went through that, and we went to court. They sued me for some public records requests. It was one of those diversion type tactics. But I stood my ground. And in this position, you have to, in my mind, have integrity, and you can't buy that. And so we went to court and we won. Since I've been mayor, I've had the same issue. I had people to come to me saying, okay, you need to pay us for this, that, and the other, otherwise we're going to expose you. And I said, go right ahead and do it. I'm not the normal politician. I'm not going to pay you the citizens' money because it's not the right thing to do. They sued me. They lost the first 3 lawsuits. And so I've been tested, even at the state level, even in New Orleans. But I stand firm on the fact that if you're going to do this position of service, because to me it's not just a job, you must do it with integrity, honesty, and you must do it with passion, and do it so that people who come behind you will know that you can do it right. With that comes a lot of pain and a lot of politics and a lot of pushing. And it's not good when people bash you and make stuff up, but you have to stand firm on the truth.